Would you like to walk away from your EV6 and have it automatically lock the door so you don't forget to? Today we're going to put in a little module that lets you do that.
Let's try that kimchi!
Man, it is pouring out. That's why I'm standing in the garage to talk to you about what we're going to be doing today. Well, one of the things I don't like about my EV6 is that when I go up to the car with my key in my pocket, it recognizes this and it unlocks the doors for me. When I walk away, if I don't open the door, it's going to relock the car for me. But if I'm in the car, I leave my car, it doesn't recognize that I've left the car and lock the doors for me automatically. So you have to remember to hit the button on the door or hit the button on the key fob in order to have your car lock itself when you're not in it. Kind of not the future. It feels like it's like, maybe 2006. So we're going to change that today by putting in a little module. I've seen this, that there are these modules floating around in Korea that will do this, this proximity detection, and then will lock the car automatically when you leave it. But I didn't want to have another adventure ordering something from Korea and not knowing what I was going to get when I got it. Google Translate can really only go so far. And B, you have to do some wiring in your car, and you have to like tap into wires and be plenty adventurous really with trying to figure out if one of these modules, which you're not really sure is going to work, will actually work and won't harm your car because you're tapping into the CAN bus of the car. So anyway, I decided not to really do this until someone else figured this out. And fortunately, somebody has. As you know, the Kia EV6 is the stablemate of the Ioniq 5 from Hyundai and also the Genesis GV60. These are all kind of triplets of the same platform underneath, and many of the components of the cars are actually shared. They sometimes have different part numbers for the different brands, but they really are the same parts underneath. So one of the great YouTubers for the Ioniq 5 is a guy named Corbin, and he is the Ioniq guy. And the Ioniq guy has a lot of really great videos, many of which also apply to the EV6, not just the Ioniq 5, and they also apply to the GV60, of course, as well. And he actually ordered one of these little modules and figured out where it should go in his car. He installed it, and he wrote up instructions for it. And then he put together like a package of the additional little things you need, along with his instructions, and he even 3D printed a little case you can put the circuit board you have to put in, where you can hide it under your seat. He sells it on his website for pretty much the same price it would cost to get the device and ship it over from Korea yourself. He got them, I think, straight from the factory that makes them, and since he's selling them at scale and bulk, it probably didn't cost him that much to have a lot of them shipped over to him. Anyway, I'll put a link to his package down below, and today what we're going to do is take his instructions and see if we can install his little module into the EV6. All right, so here's what you get when you order the box from the Ioniq guy. Here's what's in the box. So we have this circuit board here, which is actually what we're going to be installing, along with 4 quick taps, which allow you to connect the circuit board into the proper wiring of the car. As you'll see, we're going to connect it into the CAN bus and also into power and ground. We also have the optional 3D printed little box holder, plastic holder for the circuit board to protect it and stick it somewhere underneath the seat. I think I also have a pixelated Ioniq guy key ring, very attractive there in case I need an extra key ring, and a QR code for the instructions, which I have printed out and I have with me, and we're going to follow and see if they're applicable to my EV6. All right, so basically what you're going to be doing is tapping into the CAN bus of the car and also powering this board. Now, the CAN bus itself is how the car communicates with many of its systems and many of its modules. And I think what this little board is doing is it's looking for the signal that the key is no longer in the car, and then using that with a timer to lock the doors 10 seconds after you leave the car. So the CAN bus you can grab the wires for in many different harness locations around the car. So the trick is to find a CAN bus location that is easy to access and is easy to tap into. Some have actually taken pins from the electrical harness near the charging location in the back. You can also find it in the EV6 under the charging mat in the center console. Or if you have the EV6 GT, which I do, underneath the passenger seat in the front, there's a module that controls the seat heating for the front seats, and I think also for the rear seats as well. And that has a really easy harness to tap into. That's what we're going to be doing today, is tapping into that harness, which coincidentally is the same as, I think, the middle trim of the Ioniq 5, the SEL version, which has seat heating but doesn't have ventilation. If you have ventilation and I think the leather seats in the Ioniq 5, or you have the GT line trim of the EV6, I don't even know about the GV60, but other trims, they have different control modules for the seat heating and cooling, and they're in different locations. So the wiring is different based upon the trim and which one of the eGMP models you have. So these instructions and where I'm tapping into might not be applicable for your model car. There are threads on the EV6 boards that tell you different locations where people have tapped into and have different instructions. So I'm going to put a link to those down below, and you can go to them and they'll probably help you if you have a different model EV6 or you have one of the other eGMP cars. You can go to those particular forums, or just get Corbin's instructions and order from him, and you'll have a good head start on putting this in. No matter where you tap into the wires, as long as you have the right two wires and also the right power and ground, the instructions are basically the same, and you can use these wire taps with any of those locations. But it's always very good to either get the shop manual or get some instructions or pictures or support from someone online to make sure you're tapping into the right wires. These are obviously expensive cars, and it probably wouldn't be great to tap into the wrong wires. So hopefully we're not going to find out what happens if you tap into the wrong wires today, and we're going to tap into the right ones in this harness. With all that being said, let's get going and prepare this little board for installation into the car underneath the passenger front seat. Okay, a couple things to note here as you start this. If you look at the instructions that Corbin has, he tells you how to use the quick taps that he provides, which are basically a T-tap type of quick tap. And he tells you which size of T-taps to associate with each of the wires. The orientation of the board that is in his instructions has this white connector where the wires come out of on the right-hand side. So don't do it with this side, the back side showing. You want to do it like this. And then if you look at it, there are 4 wires, and the first 2 wires starting from the left have small taps attached to them, and the last 2 have the large taps. So the first wire, if you look at this here, is a blue wire, and we are going to put on the small tap to it. So I'm going to put down the camera because I can't really do this at the same time as holding the camera, and I'm going to put this on. The way you're going to do this is you take the end here, which is open. You can see that there, it's kind of open. And we're going to put the wire into here, and then I'm going to use a pair of these needle nose pliers that I have to slowly crimp down the plastic and attach the contacts inside of that T-tap, that quick tap, to the wire itself. So we're going to do that now, and I'll show you how it looks when it's done. All right, so here you go. Here is the one of the T-taps done, or the quick taps, whatever it is, with the wire in the position it needs to be in. Okay, let's go ahead and do that for the other 4. First 2 wires starting from the left have the small ones, and the last 2 have the big ones. All right, so now what we have here is all 4 of the taps onto the ends of the wires. So 2 of them are smaller than the others. The other 2 are a little bit bigger, probably because of the voltage is involved. You'll next be joining me under my passenger seat. All right, so now we're around on the passenger side. Let me show you what we're dealing with. All of these places to tap into this stuff, not extremely convenient. So you have to be a little bit resourceful, have some small fingers and some patience to take care of this. So let's go and show you where this one is. It's right here. This is under my passenger front seat. See this module here? This is the one we're tapping into. All right, so you join me under the seat, and what I've done is I've pressed in on the tab. You'll see it right in the middle here on that harness. And while pressing down on the tab gently, I pulled straight back the harness, which releases this male part of the harness from the female part, which is in the module itself that does the seat heating. Once you remove it, you'll see it has 2 sides with lots of wires in it. And what you're looking for is the side that has red and black. And here, let me move this in a little bit more so you can see the harness itself. Red is here at the top here, and black is at the bottom. So what you're going to be doing is tapping into the red one and the black one. This is power and ground. And then you're tapping into pins 4 and 5. This is pin 1. So 1, 2, 3 is the blue one, 4 and 5. 4 is orange, 5 is green. That totally matches up with the instructions that are provided along with the board that I have. This orange and green wires are the B-CAN bus, and that's going to be the logic that the board is going to be using to sense whether or not the key is in the car anymore. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to first take off this tape here so that we can get these wires out and separate them more to be able to tap into this more easily. So I have a pair of scissors here, and I'm going to be very careful to only be snipping this electrical tape and not any of the wires. So be careful where you're snipping there and cutting. So did this and was able to pull this back, and now we're able to easily get, or more easily able to get into these wires here. Might do this a little bit more. What I'm trying to avoid is having to cut the zip tie, which is here holding this harness to the side of the seat. I could put another zip tie in if I have to cut it, but I'd rather not. This could be the source of some rattles if it's left unsecured to the seat, and I'd rather not have to muck around more underneath the seat here. So I'm just going and cutting a little bit more here. It's only the electrical tape that I've cut, not any of the wires. You got to be very careful with that. And now we're at the point where we have all these wires exposed, and I can get right into the right ones we need. So the 2 ones again we need are these orange and the green one, and then we need the red and the black. So let's get into it here. Very tight quarters underneath here, and you have to try and get directly into the right wires. Okay, don't want the blue wire, you want the orange and the green only. All right, so here's my board, and when I look at the instructions, this blue wire, which is the first one with a small one on it, that's going to go on the orange wire, number 4, on the pins. So we're going to go and take the blue wire and we're going to connect it to pin 4 here, which is the orange wire. So I am going to get only the orange wire over here, and I'm going to get this over onto it like so, so that it's in between the contacts properly. And I believe it is at this point. So I'm now going to take my trusty pliers and try not to crimp my finger onto the harness. And I'm going to push this in. So now we have this wire crimped onto this cable right here, crimped onto the orange of the harness, and it's making contact with the blue wire right here, okay? So that's wire number one, 3 more to go. Second wire we need to do is the green wire. And the green wire is connected to the red wire with the small connector on it. That's wire number 2. So here from my harness is wire number 2. Verified that it has a small connector onto it. And I'm going to take this wire here. I'm actually going to use my pliers a little bit to kind of get this wire out a little bit more. This might look easy from the camera vantage point that you're seeing, but it's actually really tough because this is actually under my seat and it's a tough position to be in. I can't get my head down there. All right, so we've got the second wire here, which is the red wire next to the blue wire. Small connector on it. Verified that. Now I've got to go and get this green wire here onto it. So I'm going to hold this kind of like this to kind of get the green wire situated into the part that I need here. And I feel like I'm doing some close quarter surgery here because this is really tough to get into this without releasing the zip tie to have more slack here. But I think I can do it here. So I've got the wire kind of connected. You got this kind of manual seat adjustment for the GT model, which is kind of in the way as well. So it's very tough close quarters here. You don't want to get the wrong wire. So gotta be patient. All right, I think it's on. Let's go close it onto it. There we go. All right, so we got the second wire on. These are the 2 tough ones because they're in the middle and they're not on the ends. So let's take the red one first, which is a little bit tougher because it's sort of close to the other 2 wires I tapped into. These might be a little bit tougher also because they are bigger taps, but you can see they're needed because the wires themselves probably have more current to them. So let's go. We're going to put this one on the red one alone. Put down. All right, let me get these pliers here. And this is on. Verified that it's only on this red wire. And now I'm going to close this one up. All right, so this one's locked on as well. Now, one more wire, which is the black wire on the end here. So black wire with big tap on it goes on to the black wire at the end. It's pin 14, I believe. There we go. All right, so I think we have this all connected up now. Now, before we do anything else to close this up and make this neat, I want to test it out. So we're going to go and put the tap or put the harness back in to its place. The real test should be whether or not these lights go on. Let's see here if these lights go on or not. Now you're going to know if you install this correctly by the 2 green lights here being on. If they're on constantly, and this is with the car off, you know that it is installed correctly. Now, what I did once it was installed correctly is I hit the hatch button 3 times with the car door closed, and that seemed to enable it. Now, once that's enabled, watch what happens. I'm going to walk away from the car, and the keys are in my pocket, and the car just locked itself. Let's go and try that again. I'm going to open the door here, get in. All right, so now I'm going to get out of the car and watch what happens. Keys are in my pocket. Walking a little bit away, and I think it takes about 10 seconds. There you go. Door's automatically locked. I would call this a successful install. Hope this helped you figure out if this is something you want to get for your car. It's not that tough to do, but you have to be careful in hooking up this thing into your wiring harness. It's worth the while if you don't want to lock your door when you leave your car. It's actually really cool. All right, hope this helps. Hope you're doing something fun with your car, even though it's pouring or maybe snowing where you are. And I'll see you in the next one.